Afua Hagan. Afua, good morning. I suppose good afternoon, almost good evening where you are, but happy New Year's Eve nonetheless.
Oh, happy New Year's Eve to you as well.
Now let's start with U.S. President Trump's state visit. How historic and influential was it for King Charles to receive President Trump?
Well, this was a really historic state visit because, of course, it was the second one for President Trump. And it was something that he was so looking forward to. Look, we know how much he loved Queen Elizabeth II, of course, how much he loves the royal family. So for him to be able to have this state visit, remember, it was at Windsor Castle rather than Buckingham Palace, because Buckingham Palace has been undergoing some renovations. And of course, for him, that was great. It means it was the biggest and best state visit that there ever was. Look, this was all about strengthening the special relationship between the UK and the US. All that pomp and pageantry was really about smoothing the way for a great trade deal. And we had that announcement at the end of the state visit of what that trade deal might entail. Lots of investment for American companies into the United States. But yes, this again was about King Charles III playing this role of diplomat-in-chief that he has been playing pretty much all year, with visits from, President Zelensky, and of course meeting with Mark Carney and giving the speech from the throne in Canada earlier on this year as well. But yes, this state visit was hugely significant for both Donald Trump and King Charles III.
Moving on, Andrew being stripped of his titles, that was another huge story this year. How pivotal was that decision, not only the titles, but the estate?
Hugely pivotal. Look, we've been talking about Andrew Mountbatten Windsor, as he is now known, formerly Prince Andrew, and Jeffrey Epstein and his involvement with Jeffrey Epstein for 20 years or more. This year saw the publication of Virginia Giuffre's memoir, Nobody's Girl, and in it, she really detailed, things that we've heard before, but with more context about her meetings with Andrew Mountbatten Windsor and Jeffrey Epstein. We've also had this constant drip feed of the Epstein files. They're still coming out now, even though some of them are hugely redacted, but we just kept getting more and more details about Andrew Mountbatten Windsor and his involvement with Jeffrey Epstein. I think really the King and Queen reached a tipping point where they had to be seen to be doing something about the problem of Andrew. So now he's stripped of his HRH titles. He's no longer going to be living at Royal Lodge. He's going to be living on the private Sandringham estate, funded by King Charles III. We expect him to move there in 2026. Of course, he had already stepped down as a working royal, but he is being more and more relegated to the background of the royal family, and never before. We didn't see him Christmas at Sandringham this year either.
And Afua, one more thing I wanted to touch on, and that was King Charles and his health. Of course, whenever we're talking about a member of the royal family and their health, it's often one of those things that really humanizes the discussion about the monarchy for us a little bit more. And the king was certainly sharing more about his cancer diagnosis and treatment.
Yes, he did. Just before Christmas, actually, we got this message that King Charles III said that he was scaling back his treatment for cancer. And, it was a really different message from, the one we've had in previous years, when he announced that he had cancer and then was working with it through most of 2024 and into 2025. And so, yes, he had this really positive message that thanks to early detection, and, a positive response to the treatment he was having, he described this milestone as a personal blessing and used his message to urge the public about the importance of cancer screening. So, yes, his treatment is going to be significantly reduced in 2026. And, of course, Charles continues his constitutional role and his duties. And, yes, I talked about him being that diplomat-in-chief that he has been, since he took up the role of the monarch. But some good news from him, certainly, that treatment is being scaled back into 2026.
And I think that, following up on the Duchess of Cambridge's announcements too, really resonated with a lot of people.
Absolutely, it really did. You know, to have members of the royal family talking about their own experiences with cancer, but also emphasizing the messages of getting anything that you're worried about checked, that early detection saves lives. I think King Charles III especially wanted to use his platform to push forward that message that early detection is key. And also the Princess of Wales and the King talking about, you know, how hard it can be to be going through these things, how talking about them really, really helps. I think they wanted to emphasize those messages as well as highlight the incredible work that people working with people with cancer, those nurses in the NHS and all around the world, the incredible work that they do as well. I think they really wanted to highlight the caregivers that help them through these difficult times.
Okay, Afua Hagan, CTV News royal commentator. We appreciate that wrap on some royal family stories this year. Happy New Year to you.
Happy New Year to you.